Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome to Kids Church Online. This week we are going to be singing 2 songs. Then Pastor Jericho is going to finish the story of Esther. And then after that, we are going to bake cookies. Are you excited? I am. It's a way for us to show God's love to others. We're going to bake for our neighbors. So thanks for joining us. Let's get started.
God, you made our big blue sky. You made the oceans deep and wide. God, you made the trees so tall. And your love is bigger than it all. God, you're bigger than big, stronger than strong. Yeah, you're mightier than mighty, louder than this song. Your love for me stretches farther than far. I can't imagine just how big you are, just how big you are. Oh, yeah. God, you made our big blue sky. You made the oceans deep and wide. God, you made the trees so tall. Yeah. And your love is bigger than it all. God, you're bigger than big, stronger than strong. Yeah, you're mightier than mighty, louder than this song. Your love for me stretches farther than far. I can't imagine just how big you are, just how big
Hi friends, welcome to our last telling of the story of Esther. We are learning about God's love for us. In Jeremiah 31:30, our verse says, God says to us, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Let's recap. What have we learned so far? We learned about an orphan girl who was kind and generous, and she becomes queen, right? Queen Esther. Esther and Uncle Mordecai heard two guys that were gonna do something bad to the king's life, and they decide to both save the king's life. We also heard about Haman, the bad guy, where everybody bowed down to him everywhere he went, except for Mordecai. Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him because he only bowed down and worshiped God. And he talked to his friend, the king. He talked to the king and he said, hey, in 12 months, we are gonna wipe off Mordecai and the rest of his people. And the last thing that we learned was Mordecai hears about this plan and tells Esther, there's a reason why you became queen. And maybe it's to save yourself and to save the people of God because there are bad things that people want to do to us. Will you choose to put your life at risk and save everybody, or will you not? The same way that we know Jesus risked his life so that many will believe in God. How is Queen Esther going to do it? Well, she's smart and kind and generous. She knows that if she shows up to the king at any time, the king could just shift and change his mind like that, the same way that he got rid of the queen before. So she knows that she is putting herself at risk. How does she do it? How does she save God's people? Well, let's reset all of this and come back to the castle where the king is. How does Esther save her people? Well, the king was minding his own business one day, and you know what? Queen Esther said, if I perish, I perish, but I have to try it. So she prayed, she asked the people of God, would you pray for me in my life? Because I have a plan. She comes before the king, knowing that at any time he could just say, you know what? I need a new queen, get rid of her. But you know what? She comes in and the king says, oh, my lovely queen, what is it that you want? I can give you up to half of my kingdom. How is Esther going to save her people? She had put her life on the line, and the king graciously says, tell me what you want. And she says, I want to have a banquet with you tomorrow with Haman. Just the three of us, you the king, Haman second in command, and me. Let's have a party and a banquet together. Well, guess what? Haman hears about it, and he is so proud. He is so happy. He says, I can't wait to come home to tell my wife that the queen and the king want me in a dinner party tomorrow. But as he was walking home, everybody was bowing down to him, except for, you guessed it, Uncle Mordecai. Uncle Mordecai would not bow down to him because he only bowed down to God. He only bowed down and worshiped God. So he came home super angry and told his wife, he says, I cannot wait to wipe his people out. So he goes to bed. Later on, so Haman goes to bed and he says, I'm gonna tell the king tomorrow that maybe we can wipe out Mordecai sooner rather than later. Well, there were other things happening that night. The king was also trying to sleep. He was trying to sleep and he could not sleep. So he says to his servant, hey, here's his nightlight. You guys have a nightlight? He says to his servant, I want you to read the history of our country. I want you just to read it. And guess what he reads about? He reads about a time when there was a servant who sat at the city gates and he heard two guys that they were planning to do bad things to the king. And because of that guy's bravery, they were able to rescue the king. So the king sits up and he says, did we ever reward that guy? Did we ever notice and say, hey, thank you for your bravery, soldiers, thank you? And the guy says, no. In our history books, it says that we've never done anything for him. So the king says, tomorrow, when I'm with Queen Esther and Haman, my best friend, my second in command, we're gonna honor that guy. All right? So guess what happens? So the Queen Esther sets up a banquet. There's the king, there's the queen, and here comes our bad guy, Haman. So at their table, they had a banquet. They had a lot of fruit, apples, maybe had corn in there, had a lot of water to drink. Let's spread them out. They had probably a lot of food, maybe a big orange, more to drink. There's a cup for the king, cup for Esther, cup for Haman, and here's the king's cup because they have a fruit bowl. So Haman feels super special. He says, man, I'm having a dinner party with the king and the queen. I must be somebody important. And remember, the king says, we want to reward that guy who helped him. And he says, Haman, what would you do for somebody who's done something super brave and something super awesome? How can we show them that we appreciate them? And you know what Haman said? Haman thought, oh my goodness, here's my chance. The king is going to tell me that I have done something amazing. So he says, I would put a robe on him. I would put the royal king's robe on on him, and I would have him ride in the king's chariot, the king's special chariot, and that we would walk him all around town. Because he thought that this was going to be him. He was finally going to get recognized that he was this guy who was best friends with the king, and he was going to be paraded all around town. And guess what the king said? Well, just as you have said to do that, I want you to do that to this special guy. This special guy who heard about two guys that were going to do something bad to me. And I want you to put the royal robe on him, have them ride on their chariot, and show them around town. Guess who that guy was? That was Uncle Mordecai. Remember, Haman didn't like Uncle Mordecai, but now Uncle Mordecai was having to walk him around town. Here, let's take the king and the queen off. We'll come back to our banqueting table in a sec. So Uncle Mordecai was paraded around town, and guess by who? By Haman himself. Everyone else who saw Haman were so scared so they would bow down. But instead of Mordecai bowing down to Haman, Haman was the one parading him around. This is the king's hero, hear ye, hear ye. He was mad. He was so mad he had to do it all day. Remember his plan? His plan was to hurt Mordecai and all of his people. But instead, this time, he paraded him around. All right, so Haman comes back after he just paraded Uncle Mordecai around, his enemy that he wanted to hurt, but this time the king was saying, hey, I want you to reward this guy that we never did anything good for. So he comes back, and the king and the queen are having a good old time. And the king finally says, hey, Haman, welcome back to the banquet. Queen Esther, what is it that you were gonna ask me yesterday that you said, hey, let's have a banquet? And guess what happens? Queen Esther says, would you please spare my life, O king? There's a guy out there that wants to wipe me out and my whole people group because we are from the people of God. We are Jewish, and somebody wants to kill all of us. Somebody wants to take out and hurt all of us. The king was mad and he throws his goblet and he says, who is this person that wants to hurt all of you guys? Guess what Esther does? Esther points to Haman and he says, that guy wants to wipe me out, wipe out Uncle Mordecai, and also all of God's people. Guess what happens to Haman? Not only does he parade Uncle Mordecai around, he gets punished by the king. He no longer becomes second in command. And this is the story about how an orphan girl becomes a queen, saves the king's life with Uncle Mordecai, and saves the rest of her people. God uses her in mighty, mighty way to save everybody. And she, like Jesus, risked her life to save so many. That is the story of Esther. I hope you were able to follow. And again, our verse comes from Jeremiah 31:3. God says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. That is it, you guys. We'll see you guys later.
Now that we finished reading the story of Esther, we get to do my favorite part of the day, where we are going to bake. My favorite cookie is chocolate chip. What's yours? Oh, that's a good one. Come on, let's bake.
We are going to walk through the steps of what you need to make the yummy, gooey chocolate chip cookies. So I'm going to go through the tools you need, and then Chef Robin is going to go through what ingredients you need. So make sure to pause if you need to go get the stuff. So you're going to need 2 mixing bowls, right? So that one's for the wet stuff, and then the other one's for our dry ingredients. You're going to need a 1/2 cup measuring tool and a 1/4 cup measuring tool, and you're also going to need a teaspoon. This black thing right here is a whisk for when we're mixing things, and lastly, you're going to need some baking sheet pans. Yeah, is that what it's called? Yeah, baking sheet pans. So make sure you ask an adult for help for all of these things. All right.
Okay, and now I'm going to talk to you about the ingredients. So first off, you need soft butter. So you can either leave butter out and let it heat up a little bit, or you can microwave your butter for about 20 seconds and it'll be nice and soft. Then you also need 2 eggs, sugar, brown sugar, flour, baking soda, salt, and vanilla. And last but not least, the most important thing, the chocolate chips.
Okay.
So we are ready to get started. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, then let's do this. Okay, so first I am going to put our eggs and our butter together and stir it up in this. And I would like you to put the 2 sugars together in there. You need 3/4 cup of both sugars. And I need 2 sticks or 1 cup of butter and 2 eggs. So let's get to that.
Do we pack the sugar?
You pack the brown sugar, but not the white sugar.
What's a lot? All right, here we go. How's it going there, Robin?
I can't see if you can look butter out of the whisk. So not so good.
While Miss Robin struggles, I got a mixer.
I think that'll help. I am struggling over here. Okay, so now we are going to add our 2 sugars.
Gee, thanks for letting me do that. I'm so glad to help.
You're welcome. Now the next thing that we want to do, Jericho, is we want to add in our teaspoon of baking soda, salt, and vanilla. Do you want to help me in measuring
In
those?
here?
Actually, we'll just put them in here.
Okay. A teaspoon each. Okay. Not tablespoon.
No, teaspoon.
Okay.
A teaspoon.
That looks good. So we're doing chocolate chips after?
Yeah, so we do the flour next,
Uh-huh.
and then we do chocolate chips last.
You said flour last.
Well,
Okay, sorry.
oh, this video is, woo, priceless.
All right.
Okay, so we need 2 1/4 cup of flour. So that's 4 of the half cups, and 1 of the quarter cup.
Packed?
No, not packed.
Okay.
Last but not least,
Do we need the measuring cup?
just 4.
The whole thing?
I normally do about 3/4 of a bag, but you could do the whole bag if you wanted.
I don't know if these are any good.
You don't know if they're good? I don't think they're good.
We gotta taste them.
Well, how'd it taste?
Semi-sweet?
Is that good?
Yeah. You don't like those?
I love them.
That's my favorite part of baking. You don't taste them?
No.
I look forward to that step every single time I make cookies.
Is that you try all the
I
ingredients?
try, no, not all of them, but the chocolate. You really don't try the chocolate?
Not every time.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
that's like the best part.
Okay, so now we have our cookie dough, so we are going to scoop it on to the plate, or the cookie sheet, to make our cookies. They are going to be giant. We have our first tray of cookies ready to go. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, boys and girls, so now it is time to bake our cookies. So we need to turn the oven on to 350 and let it preheat. And once it's heated, you put these in for 10 minutes, and then they will be ready.
We are preheating our oven right now to 350 so we can put the cookies in there. So while we wait, we're going to do our Bible verse together. And it comes from Jeremiah 31:3. You got to put your hand like this, like a Bible. Jeremiah 31:3. And God says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Do you know how much mom and dad love you? Do you know how much your brothers and sisters love you and grandma and grandpa? Could you imagine how much God loves us? God is saying, I love you with an everlasting love, always and forever. Let's say it one more time. Jeremiah 31:3. God says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. We want to show God's love to other people, and the way that we want to show that today is by baking them freshly made chocolate chip cookies.
Okay, boys and girls, it is time to put our cookies in. Our oven is preheated and they are ready to start cooking. But to do this part, don't forget to have mom and dad help you because ovens are very hot and you can get hurt. Okay, let's start baking. Okay, we are going to put them in for 10 minutes.
You got a quick start.
Okay, the cookies are done and it's time to pull them out of the oven. Make sure that you have mom and dad there.
They
to help
are
you.
done.
Can I give it a side?
Yes.
All right. Is it time?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we think?
What do you think?
Good. I'll give this 100 thumbs up.
Thanks, Moses.
I mean 1,000.
Wow.
Wow. Nia, what about you?
4.
4. Good. How about you?
3. These are free.
I think they're delicious.
All right, friends, we are on our way delivering the cookies right now. Miss Robin is following me. We are going to give it to somebody special at our church. Come check it out. Here's Robin's parking job. Whoop, whoop. Robin, where are we?
We are at Tanner's house and we are going to surprise him with the cookies we baked.
Hey, dude.